Hello, my name is William Hold, and I will be discussing me and my partner's research on the cost of multitasking and how at bare minimum it's inefficient and at worst can be life-threatening. First, we will be talking about what multitasking really is and what it means. The APA recognizes multitasking as when someone tries to perform two tasks simultaneously, switching from one task to another, or performing two or more tasks in rapid succession. So in reality, most of your multitasking that you do is something called task switching, as the brain is not designed for true multitasking. So why do people believe they can multitask effectively, and where does this belief stem from? 2013, researchers found that frequent multitaskers grossly overestimate their ability to multitask. They found that there is little correlation between perceived and actual multitasking ability. So where does this belief come from that they're good at multitasking? Well, it comes from overconfidence. They found overconfidence in a set of skills what drives multitasking. And ironically, the worst multitaskers do it the most often. So now we'll see the cognitive performance and see how they actually grossly overestimate their ability. Examining the effects of task switching on cognitive performance, researchers in 1995 compared individuals' ability to switch a task versus repeat a task. They found that people were consistently slower on switch trials than repeat trials, even when the switch was predictable. So why does this happen? Rogers and colleagues defined two key components of switch cost. The mental control adjustment of going from one task to another, where you're switching the mental control in your mind, which can be negated if prepared in advance. And then the second one, which cannot be negated, is the carryover competition, where your brain has a competition over the cognitive resources from going from one task to another. So even with preparation, task switching always causes a natural delay in reaction time and overall performance time, which is shown by the graph here, comparing switchers versus non-switchers. These findings were actually further supported by research from Rubenstein and colleagues in 2001, which showed that task switching always slows us down. In their experiment, they had young adults switch between tasks like solving math problems and classifying shapes. Their results supported the previous study and the fact that they found participants always lost time on switching tasks. They also found two more interesting points: that the more complex the task was, the greater that the time cost also was. They also found that switching to unfamiliar tasks took even longer. The takeaway from this: task switching isn't just a small delay and can be made worse when tasks are harder or less familiar. So if you think about this in context of your own life, if you're studying for an important test, the switching between different tasks is going to be even greater than the task cost, because this is a newer topic for you and it's also a more complex one as well. So now we're talking about the dangers of multitasking and how it can be even life-threatening at times. Researchers in 2016 studied how secondary tasks affect driving. They found being distracted by a visual task impaired the performance the most, such as looking at a tablet, while listening to the radio actually led to the best results, even better than driving without a task, which surprisingly, driving alone ranked in the middle out of all of the tasks. Researchers suggest that mind wandering during monotonous driving interferes with more than non-visual tasks. Because if you view it as a multitasking, also, you're thinking about stuff outside of the road, so you have to task switch to then think about the road, than just listening passively while looking at the road. The study highlights that safe multitasking is possible, but requires tasks that engage the mind without competing for visual attention, i.e., don't look at your phone while driving. This demonstrates the key dangers of multitasking while driving, as the delay in driving ability and reaction time could have life-threatening results at high speeds. Now we'll be looking at how do we minimize this danger and the cost of multitasking and some conclusions to go home with. Remember, in order to stay safe and efficient, play to your brain's strengths. You should avoid visual distractions when trying to focus on a complex task, such as looking at your phone. Don't overestimate your abilities. People who multitask the most often are usually the worst at it. So if you think you're good at multitasking, you're not. Minimize task switching as well. Switching costs add up and reduce efficiency over time, so just don't do it. Bottom line, work with your brain, not against it. It's built for one task, do one task. Remember, your life could be at stake if you overemphasize your multitasking ability, so just